guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, I am Milk and this is Milk Astrology, and today we are going to be doing actually a different kind of video. I'm going to be talking about all of my favorite romance novels that I've read in 2021, and I'm also going to talk about which romance novel should each Venus sign read. I'm really excited about this because I know that everyone knows that I'm trying to do a book crossover on my channel, but everyone likes my astrology content and is here for my tarot, so this is like the best way to get people to watch both. First things first, I'm going to go through my list on Goodreads. You can follow me there if you would like to. And yeah, here we go. Also, it's his birthday today. It is October 22nd, and I'm actually having like the worst astrologer nightmare possible, because not only did I find out that, you know, obviously October 22nd is the threshold between, am I yelling? I'm sorry. Between Libra and Scorpio season. So he literally, I don't have his birth time, and so he's literally either a Libra or Scorpio. I feel like he's a Scorpio because he's very clingy and he holds a grudge, but I don't know. Comment below and tell me if you think he looks like a Libra or a Scorpio. So I'm only going to be talking about the books that I loved this year, and I'm also only going to be talking about the books that I rated like almost 5 stars at least, because why would I put you guys on to like books that I didn't enjoy? For Aries, I'm going to Aries Venus people, or people with Aries placements, although specifically this is for your Venus sign, so Venus, you need to read November 9. So this is November 9, and November 9 is about, Fallon meets Ben in a restaurant, and it's actually really intriguing because basically Fallon has issues with her father, and he's kind of putting her down, and she has scarring on her face because she lived through a fire, which she has always blamed her father for. So there's a lot of beef between Fallon and her father. But then this guy in the restaurant who was mesmerized by her for some reason jumps in to save her when her father's putting her on the spot about her love life, or about not meeting anyone, and his name is Ben. So Ben is really interesting because he has a lot of baggage, he has a lot of secrets that we don't really find out until later. But long story short, they really hit it off. However, there's a catch because I believe Ben is moving. Okay, hold on. Okay, Fallon is moving across the country, a day or something later after they had just initially met. So they make this arrangement to always meet up, because the day that they met at the restaurant, when he jumped in to pretend to be her boyfriend in front of the father, the father's kind of a jerk, so he stood up for her, and the father, you know, was taken back, and Fallon's who is this guy? But also Fallon has a really hard time accepting that anyone could be nice to her or like her, because she doesn't think that she's beautiful. She has scarring on her face because of the fire, and there's a lot of things that she goes through where she just doesn't believe that she's valued or worth it. And so long story short, they meet that day, and then they make a pact, because she's moving, that they always meet up once a year on November 9th. Of course I have to mention this right before November, but so every year they meet up for I think a series of 5-ish years, and then I think they make a pact where after 5 years, if they keep meeting up, maybe they'll, you know, give each other their phone number, or get to know each other more intimately. However, a lot of different things happen throughout each year that they meet. There's a lot of tension, there's a lot of buildup, there's a lot of secrets that come out, and this book from start to finish took me through such a psychological thrill and ride, and I thought it was such a romantic book, but it's also very intense and passionate, and it just gives me Aries Venus vibes. So please read this book, please, I'm begging you. I love this book so much, it's literally my baby. I did cry though, so just warning you, you might cry. For Taurus, oh god, I'm gonna just start recommending so many Colleen Hoover books I already know. But for Taurus, I'm giving you guys Ugly Love. Oh my gosh, okay, so that's the cover. Ugly Love, Taurus Venus people, you have to read this. So I'll read the description to you, because I read it months ago. When Tate Collins meets airline pilot Miles Archer, she knows it isn't love at first sight. They wouldn't even go so far as to consider themselves friends. The only thing Tate and Miles have in common is an undeniable mutual attraction. Once their desires are out in the open, they realize that they have the perfect setup. He doesn't want love, she doesn't have time for love, so that just leaves the sex. Their arrangement could be surprisingly seamless as long as Tate can stick to the only 2 rules Miles has for her. Never ask about the past, don't expect a future. They think they can handle it, but realize almost immediately they can't handle it at all. Hearts get infiltrated, promises get broken, rules get shattered, love gets ugly. And I really like this book because it's kind of like close or forced proximity, roommates to lovers trope. I think it's also like brother's best friend trope, but basically they both have a lot of skeletons in their closet and they're both in like this healing process. And I'm not gonna lie, for some of the majority of this book, I think you feel like, is it Miles is kind of a jerk for some of it. He's very hot and cold with her. He's very lukewarm. He doesn't really want anything serious, but then he's like obsessed with her. And so for some of the book, you're not really feeling him, but there's a lot of layers and she's very patient with him. And I feel like that's like the kind of love Taurus Venus embodies to me. You guys know how to be patient and you guys know how to be stubborn, and they have a lot of like arguing and bickering, and like they're very like honest with one another, which I feel Taurus Venus people can value. And I do think this is such a beautiful book. I think it's one of, actually, if not one of the best books that Colleen Hoover has ever written. So you definitely just have to read this because I rated this 5 stars. So I definitely think this is for you. Gemini Venus people, this book is for you, and I live by that. I will die on this hill. And it's called Beach Read. I'm going to show you guys the cover and I'm going to read you the synopsis because honestly I don't remember all of it, and then I'll just like give you an opinion of like my experience with it. A romance writer who no longer believes in love and a literary writer stuck in a rut engage in a summer-long challenge that may just upend everything they believe about happily ever afters. Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens a happily ever after, he kills off his entire cast, like talking about their writing styles. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months, they are living in neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block, until one hazy evening, one thing leads to another, and they strike a deal designed to force them out of their creative ruts. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on a field trip worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of backwoods death cults, obviously. Everyone will finish a book and no one will fall in love, really. And I think this book is amazing because, first of all, it's like literally about a girl who writes romance novels for a living and this guy who writes, you know, like mystery, sci-fi, all the intense taken seriously books. And so they have a lot of banter because they actually know each other from school and they don't really like each other. So when she sees him, she's like, oh my god, how do I avoid this guy? But then they start talking and they're both having writer's block. They both, you know, need the next paycheck to come in. It's their job. And so they make this pact of like, he basically is kind of giving her banter and is like, you can't write a literary like novel without it being a romance. And then she's like, romances are actually, you know, amazing and a lot more intellectually stimulating than people give them credit for. Why don't you try to write a romance novel? So they like flip, and so like she tries to give him notes to write the romance novel. Like they make a deal basically. And then she has to write like, the other kind of novel. So that's basically how it comes together. It's very witty. They're both very intelligent characters. They're both very intellectually stimulating. And it just gives me really strong like Gemini energy. Like how creative and cute is that? I don't know. I'll stop with the crazy eyes. But this is like the perfect Gemini Venus book. So please, if you're a Gemini Venus, consider it. Okay. You guys will love Archer's voice. Okay, as you guys can tell, I'm coming on the spot. I'm coming off of all of this on the spot. So Archer's voice, excuse this really cheesy cover. I don't think anyone on Book Talk who recommends this book like likes this cover just because like it's cheesy and corny and I don't want to have a topless guy on my books. Like it just, you know, like, Anyways, let me read the description to you and then I'll talk about it. So it says, when Brie Prescott arrives in the sleepy lakeside town of Pelion, Maine, she hopes against let me stop. She hopes against hope that this is the place where she will finally find the peace she so desperately seeks. On her first day there, her life collides with Archer Hale, so an isolated man who holds a secret agony of his own. A man no one else sees, Archer's voice in the story of a woman chained to the memory of one horrifying night, and one man whose love is the key to her freedom. It is the story of a silent man who lives with an excruciating wound and the woman who helps him find his voice. It is a story of suffering, fate, and the transformative power of love. I've talked about this book a lot, so like if anyone is watching this video for the first time, maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but if you do, I'm sorry. So this book is basically about this girl that moves to this sleepy town, and there's this guy who can't audibly speak. He knows ASL, American Sign Language, but he doesn't speak. And I guess he keeps to himself. No one in the town also knows ASL, so like he's very isolated. No one talks to this guy. And she tries to like, you know, ask around about him because he's very interesting to her. She knows ASL, I think because of her father actually. Yeah, it is because of her father was deaf, I believe. But yeah, so long story short, she's like, who is this guy? He's very intriguing, and everyone in the town is like, he's weird, stay away from him, you don't want to talk to him. And then she's like, well, I'm not gonna do that. So she ends up talking to him through ASL, and he doesn't speak to anyone. Like he doesn't like anyone, he doesn't want to speak to anyone, he feels rejected by the town, so he like rejects the town. But then he ends up talking to her, and it's like really shocking for everyone. Everyone's like, oh my god, you guys talked? Like it's a big deal. So they end up kind of keeping a rapport with one another and having a friendship, and then it turns into this like beautiful romance. There's a lot of intense stuff though, like not gonna lie, this book borderline feels like a Nicholas Sparks movie on Lifetime channel. So of course I'm giving it to Cancer Venus, but I also feel like that's why I would give it to Cancer Venus. I feel like you guys can handle this and appreciate it for how beautiful it is. So that's why you deserve it. And yeah, Leo Venus people, I'm giving you guys one of the best books, like one of my most favorite books. I would love to do a book YouTube video on like reading you guys all of my favorite marked parts of this book, but comment below and tell me if you want to see that, because I know a lot of people don't like my books, my book talk, my booktube posts. So I'm gonna read the description of this and then I'll talk about this. Everyone knows I'm obsessed with this. It's called The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Beautiful, amazing, 10 out of 10, chef kiss. So it says, never pray to the gods that answer after dark. France 1714, in a moment of desperation, a young woman named Adeline meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake as she realizes the limitations of her Faustin bargain, being able to live forever without being able to be remembered by anyone she sees. Addie chooses to flee her small village as everything she once held dear is torn away, but there are still dreams to be had and a life to live, and she is determined to find excitement and satisfaction in the wide, beckoning world, even if she will be doomed to be alone forever, or not quite alone, as every year on her birthday, the alluring Lou comes to visit, checking to see if she is ready to give up her soul. Their darkly thrilling game stretches through the ages, seeing Addie witness history and fight to regain herself as she crosses oceans and tries on various lives. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name, and suddenly everything changes again. So basically, she makes a deal with the devil. And then, long story short, no one remembers her. Everyone forgets her. So she like kind of in a way becomes like a thief, but only because like she can't keep a job. She'll get an interview and then the next day she'll go back and they won't remember her. Like the deal is she can live as long as she wants, but like everyone's kind of wiped their mind of her. So she kind of lives as like a ghost. And so she's used to being forgotten, and like this whole book is kind of about the theme of just like walking around as like a shell of a person because no one recognizes you, have no imprint into people's lives, but you get to live forever. She also has like this romantic tension with the devil, and like he keeps like coming back for her, but she's like, you don't want me, you just want control and power, which is still up for debate. But then she goes into the library or the bookstore to like steal a book because no one remembers her. And you know, she can't work because no one will remember her, she has no money. But she does steal the book, and then she comes back the next day. Oh, she gets caught and the guy's like, just keep it. And then she comes back the next day and the guy's like, are you serious? Like you really have the guts to try to bring this back and return it as like if you bought it. And then she's like, what the fuck? She's like, people remember me? Like, it's very shocking. And it's just such a beautiful book. The way that this book is written is like poetry. It's like butter. Like, it's like, let me just read you an excerpt of one of my favorite, Wendell, you want to get down? One of my favorite excerpts. Okay, this one's the best one. A dreamer scorns her mother. A dreamer mourns her father. A dreamer warns Estelle. Still, it does not seem such a bad word until Adeline wakes up. And then I'll just show you because, like, this is like, oh, I think it's like reversed on my phone. Anyways, but yeah, it's just so nice and beautiful and oh, so amazing. As a Leo Venus, being remembered with a romance with an alluring devil obsessed with you, and then like some other guy that like really sees you for who you are, like, I know what I'm talking about, just trust me, just read this book. Okay, so next for Virgo Venus, my beautiful Virgo Venuses, we have a book that's not necessarily focused on romance. Like, if you're looking for like a sultry, smutty romance novel that you wanted me to put you onto, and then you realize that you're watching this video and I'm not doing that for you, apply your other placements and maybe look at my other book suggestions, because this isn't really not a complete romance novel. And I feel like it's perfect that way for you guys, because you guys don't like to give yourself fully to people. Like, you're very pragmatic, so like a whimsical romance is just not realistic for you. With that said, this book is called In 5 Years. I bought the paperback version, even though I bought it on iBooks first, because I want to go through it and annotate it. I just am annotating my Invisible Life of Addie LaRue first, but oops. I'll read the description to you and then like talk about it. Dani Cohen lives her life by the numbers. She is nothing like her lifelong best friend, the wild, whimsical, believes in fate Bella. Dani's meticulous planning seems to have paid off after she nails the most important job interview of her career and accepts her boyfriend's marriage proposal in one fell swoop, falling asleep completely content. But when she awakens, she's suddenly in a different apartment with a different ring on her finger and beside a very different man. Dani spends exactly 1 hour, 5 years in the future before she wakes up again in her own home on the brink of midnight. And it is 1 hour she cannot shake. In 5 Years is an unforgettable love story, but it is not the one you're expecting. So I just got goosebumps. I'm so cheesy. Okay, so basically In 5 Years is about a girl who meticulously plans everything by the book, Virgo Venus, and for some reason she wakes up one day and gets a glimpse of an hour into her future 5 years later, and it's nothing like she planned. She's not in a bed with the same guy. She's in a completely different apartment. She's like, what the fuck happened? I don't even think she's had like in the same career. And it's crazy. So then she goes back to sleep like an hour later or something and wakes up in the life that she's used to or accustomed to, but she's a different person now. Like, it changes so much because it's like, how did everything just go away? Like, she's like, you know, confused. And so it's kind of a psychological thriller in that way, because you're kind of decoding a lot of things as you watch her life in a way fall apart and get put back together in a different way. And it is like a love story-ish. I'm not gonna lie to you, the love story is minimized by the psychological thriller of like suspense and what's happening in the book, but I think it's perfect because it's really about how like being in control isn't always going to lead you to the life that you think you're going to have. And if that's not the best lesson for Virgo Venuses, I don't know what is. Not me forgetting Libras. I'm going to talk about the deal, and it was honestly one of the cutest books. It's like very cheeky, flirty. It's about 2 college students, and I don't really read college campus books just because I feel like I'm old. She's about to make a deal with a college bad boy. Hannah Wells has finally found someone who turns her on. But while she might be confident in every other area of her life, she's cartering around a full set of baggage when it comes to sex and seduction. If she wants to get her crush's attention, she'll have to step out of her comfort zone and make him take notice, even if it means tutoring the annoying, childish, cocky captain of the hockey team in exchange for a pretend date. And it's going to be oh so good. All Garrett Graham has ever wanted is to play professional hockey after graduation, but his plummeting GPA is threatening everything he's worked so hard for. If helping a sarcastic brunette makes another guy jealous will help him secure his position on the team, he's all for it. But when one unexpected kiss leads to the wildest sex of both their lives, it doesn't take long for Garrett to realize that pretend isn't going to cut it. Now he just has to convince Hannah that the man she wants looks a lot like him. So basically it's really cute because Hannah is like this nerdy but intelligent, incredibly sophisticated girl who like isn't interested in like, you know, partying and being popular and like looking good, even though I do think that eventually he keeps like following her because he wants her to like tutor him, and she's like, leave me alone, I'm not interested, like I don't want to tutor you. He's like the most popular guy on campus, and he kind of like goes through girls a lot, and he kind of like is low-key maybe shallow, and so she like doesn't want anything to do with him. Finds out that she has a crush on this guy at a party, and she's like looking at this guy and like acting weird, so he's like, you have a crush, if you tutor me, I will teach you how to like get this guy's attention. And so she finally is like, fine, okay, sure. So she goes to his house and like is getting tutoring him like every few days out of the week. And eventually, of course, they get this like fake boyfriend, fake girlfriend trope, enemies to lovers kind of trope, even though they don't really hate each other, but like she did avoid him and think that he was like a dumb jock. And then they end up catching feelings for one another, and it's just really cute. It's honestly like, when I read it, thanks to my dogs, shout out to all my dogs, but when I read it, I felt like I was reading like a chick flick, like one of like the best blockbuster films. Like think like Legally Blonde, like you just like close the book feeling giddy and like happy, and that was like the vibe. So I just feel like that's very Libra Venus. Also, I'm sorry that all my Libra Venus people are looking at me looking like complete trash right now, and they're probably like, what the hell? But yeah, for Scorpio Venuses, I'm going to give you guys the book that I love so much, and it does have some spice in it. It has some really great sex scenes in it, so you're welcome. And it is called, okay, this book is amazing, by the way, and the author wrote it originally as a fan fiction for Reylo, which is Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars. And like, I just love that so much. You can even see it because like the cover is literally Reylo. If you don't like Reylo, you probably won't like that part, but don't worry, the book is not about them as Star Wars characters. So yeah, they're just like written with like the characters in mind. But yeah, it's called The Love Hypothesis. I'm gonna read the description really fast. As a third-year PhD candidate, Olive Smith doesn't believe in lasting romantic relationships, but her best friend does, and that's what got her into this situation. Convincing Anne that Olive is dating and well on her way to a happily ever after was always going to take more than hand-wavy Jedi mind tricks. Scientists require proof, so like any self-respecting biologist, Olive panics and kisses the first man she sees. The man is none other than Adam Carson, a young hotshot professor and well-known ass. Which is why Olive is positively floored when Stanford's reigning lab tyrant agrees to keep her charade a secret and be her fake boyfriend. But when a big science conference goes haywire, putting Olive's career on the Bunsen burner, Adam surprises her again with his unyielding support and even more unyielding six-pack abs. Suddenly their little experiment feels dangerously close to combustion, and Olive discovers that the only thing more complicated than a hypothesis on love is putting her own heart under the microscope. So, okay, this book is like Pride and Prejudice vibes. It gives me the strongest sense of Pride and Prejudice vibes because the girl is intelligent, she's witty, she's giving everything that I want to be, and the love interest, or the guy in the story is like very sulky. He's very emo in a lot of ways, very Scorpio. Sorry, I had to stop for a second because my boyfriend brought me my lunch because he's very nice and we love him on this channel. The guy gives me like extreme Scorpio energy, so I feel like it's going to relate or speak to like Scorpio Venus people, especially because he's very I hate everyone but you energy, and she's very intelligent. Oops. Sorry. So she's very intelligent and kind of cutthroat. It's basically she has this friend who likes her ex, and she doesn't like her ex anymore. So Olive is like telling her friend, oh, I've moved on, I'm dating someone, because she feels like she really doesn't care if her friend likes her ex or goes after her ex. Like, she really is over him. However, the friend's really uncomfortable about it, and so Olive is like a good person, and she's like, I'm on a date, and Anne is like, I smell cap. Anne's like, I don't believe you. So basically Anne ends up showing up at the science lab at night when Olive said she was going on a date, so she literally goes up to the first person she sees and she's like, kiss me please, like, and then, or I think she just kisses them, and then it ends up being like this professor on campus and she's a student, and so she's like, oh my god, I'm humiliated. And then I think she like was trying to explain to him later about how like this is the situation, and then he agrees to go along with it, but the whole time he's like so obsessed with her, but like of course she doesn't see it, she doesn't think that, and so the whole time you're like, just kiss please. But it's just such a good book. I love everything about that book. It's literally the best book that I've read this year. I was in such a depression after reading that book because nothing ever compares when you read something so good. It's literally the best romance novel that I've read this year, hands down. Like romance novel, best romance novel I've read this year. So, hold on, wait a goddamn minute. Sagittarius Venuses, you need to stop what you're doing and run to your bookstores to read Punk 57, hands down. Is it arguably problematic of a book? Yes. Are Sagittarius Venuses arguably problematic as people? Also yes. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about Punk 57. Let me read the description to you guys. Honestly, spicy book. Do not read this if you're not expecting to not feel some sort of way during this book. So I'm going to read the description to you and then I'll talk about it. We were perfect together until we met. Misha, I can't help but smile at the words in her letters. Misha is the guy. She misses me in 5th grade. In 5th grade, my teacher sets us up with pen pals from a different school, thinking I was a girl. With a name like Misha, the other teachers paired me up with her student, Ryan. My teacher, believing Ryan was a boy like me, agreed it didn't take long for us to figure out the mistake. And in no time at all, we were arguing about everything. So basically, teachers from other schools thought that, you know, Misha had a feminine name and Ryan had a masculine name, so they assumed that they were not doing co-ed writing partners. They thought they were giving them same-sex writing partners. But they ended up being a boy and a girl, being able to meet indirectly through their teacher's assignment project, a pen pal project. The best takeout pizza, Android versus iPhone, whether or not Eminem is the greatest rapper ever, and that was the start. For the next 7 years, it was us. Her letters are always on black paper with silver writing. Sometimes there's one a week or 3 in a day, but I need them. She's the only one who keeps me on track, talks me down, and accepts everything I am. We only had 3 rules: no social media, no phone numbers, no pictures. We had a good thing going, why ruin it? Until I run across a photo of a girl online named Ryan, loves Gallows Pizza and worships her iPhone. What are the chances? Fuck it. I need to meet her. I just don't expect to hate what I find. Ryan, this is Ryan's perspective now. Ryan, he hasn't written in 3 months. Something's wrong. Did he die? Get arrested? Knowing Misha, neither would have been a stretch. Without him around, I'm going crazy. I need to know someone is listening. It's my own fault. I should have gotten his number or picture or something. He could be gone forever or right under my nose and I wouldn't even know it. So basically, think of like an angsty friend that you've never met before, that you don't know what they look like and they don't know what you look like, and you guys bond over like life and politics, and you know, you guys have the same kind of like apathetic worldview, and like, you know, that's just kind of the vibe. The way that she, you know, talks, like when she shares her innermost secrets and when she has a lot of depth with Misha, Ryan is very analytical and introspective and intelligent, but when Misha shows up at Ryan's school and Ryan doesn't know who Misha is, because I think Misha goes by a different name in the school, like as like a cover, Ryan is nothing like she comes across in the letters. She's a bitchy popular girl who's kind of mean and very like comes off vapid, and just like all of the things that like Ryan via letters is not at all. So Misha's like first he's hurt because he's like, you put on a facade or you played me, like what's going on? You know, where are the cameras? Because it's like you're acting so different. But then he has to like keep up a cover of like not telling her who he is, so like she doesn't know that he knows her, or that she doesn't know who he is, and so you're seeing him kind of be a jerk to her and she's being a jerk to him, and they're both like, they have beef. They're kind of legitimately enemies to lovers. because like they hate each other in this, and they're fucking mean to each other in this school, and this is why it's kind of a problematic book. Very sarcastic, very dry humored, very cutthroat, very Sagittarius Venus vibes, and you have to read this book, please, I beg. I think I'm gonna give Capricorn Venus Hating Game. It's kind of cute, kind of cheesy. It's a very like cute, simple, sweet love romance, but it's also centered around a work relationship turned into a full-fledged relationship. I do think it's becoming a movie soon, so look out for that. But it's called The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. Everyone talks about this book. It's super popular. I'll read the description. Nemesis. Okay, this is definition of nemesis. An opponent or rival whom a person cannot best or overcome. 2, a person's undoing. 3, Joshua Templeman. Lucy Hutton has always been certain that the nice girl can get the corner office. She's charming and accommodating and prides herself on being loved by everyone at Bexley and Gammon. Everyone except for coldly efficient, impeccably attired, physically intimidating Joshua Templeman. And the feeling is mutual. Trapped in a shared office together 50 or 60 hours a week, they've become entrenched in an addictive, ridiculous, never-ending game of one-upmanship. There's the staring game, the mirror game, the HR game. Lucy can't let Joshua beat her at anything, especially when a huge new promotion goes up for the taking. If Lucy wins this game, she'll be Joshua's boss. If she loses, she'll resign. So why is she suddenly having steamy dreams about Joshua and dressing for work like she's got a hot date? After a perfectly innocent elevator ride ends with an earth-shattering kiss, Lucy starts to wonder whether she's got Joshua Templeman all wrong. Maybe Lucy Hutton doesn't hate Joshua Templeman, and maybe he doesn't hate her either. Or maybe this is just another game. How is that not Capricorn Venus energy? Like, I'll wait. But no, this is definitely full-fledged Capricorn Venus. You need to read this. It's about 2 co-workers who have a steamy, like, you'll get on my nerves. I don't want to say this is an enemies to lovers book, because a lot of people say that, but like they don't hate each other. They just like get on each other's nerves. And it's like, you know, a boring work day and it's just fun to pick on each other, but then it turns into this like intimate, full-fledged relationship, and he's this like very serious, cool and collected CEO boss vibe energy, and she's this very like hard-working CEO boss, babe boss, I don't know, boss girl, I don't know, energy. So I think that's perfect for Capricorn Venuses, and I'm just gonna say that. Aquarius Venuses, I'm gonna give you one of the best books you will ever read of all time. You're welcome, thank me later. And it is called The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is the cover. Oops, oh my god. This is the cover. And I'll read the description to you. Aging and reclusive Hollywood movie icon Evelyn Hugo is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous and scandalous life. But when she chooses unknown magazine reporter Monique Grant for the job, no one is more astounded than Monique herself. Why her? Why now? Monique is not exactly on top of the world. Her husband has left her and her professional life is going nowhere. Regardless of why Evelyn has selected her to write her biography, Monique is determined to use this opportunity to jumpstart her career. Summoned to Evelyn's luxurious apartment, Monique listens to in fascination as the actress tells her story, from making her way to Los Angeles in the 1950s to her decision to leave the show business in the 80s. And of course, the 7 husbands along the way. Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and a great forbidden love. Monique begins to feel a very real connection to the legendary star, but as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. So basically, think of like a aristocratic movie icon like Marilyn Monroe, but as a 70, 80-year-old woman, someone that's lived a very grand life, who's never been interviewed, very private, keeps to herself, and then randomly all of a sudden reaches out to Monique and is like, I want you to be my the person that writes my story. And she actually wants her to like basically go behind her job's back. She wants her to, I think in a way, even quit her job and just choose writing the story because she's going to make billions off of it. And then basically you slowly unravel like the 7 husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but then you unravel the love of Evelyn Hugo's life. And it is everything Aquarius Venus needs and wants. And I'm not saying this to be like kitschy or stereotypical, like, oh, it's so quirky, but it's such a think piece. It's so intellectually like devastating. It literally like squeezes your heart, but the way that it's written is so nice, and you go through this huge like, who did it, who is the person of her, like who's the love of her life. You're kind of like trying to figure out which person it is because 7 husbands, so you're like, what the hell. I'm not gonna say the plot twist that I want to say right now, but you need to read this book. You're gonna thank me later. You're welcome. You're welcome. If you guys know what that reference is, comment below. Right. You know what? I'm gonna give Pisces risings a run for their money. I'm gonna give you guys a book that like I don't think people would typically associate with Pisces risings because it's so dark and gory, and it's kind of like a spooky season book. But it's Verity by Colleen Hoover. This is a psychological thriller book. Like, you have to like creepy stuff to like this book. I think you will appreciate it though. I think you will love it. Also, I would recommend The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but I gave that to Leo. Okay, I'm gonna read the description. Lowen Ashley is a struggling writer on the brink of financial ruin when she accepts the job offer of a lifetime. Jeremy Crawford, husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, has hired Lowen to complete the remaining books in a successful series his injured wife is unable to finish. Lowen arrives at the Crawford home, ready to sort through years of Verity's notes and outlines, hoping to find enough material to get her started, but Lowen doesn't expect to uncover in the chaotic office is an unfinished autobiography Verity never intended for anyone to read. Page after page of bone-chilling admissions, including Verity's recollection of what really happened the day her daughter died. Lowen decides to keep the manuscript hidden from Jeremy, knowing its content would devastate the already grieving father, but as Lowen's feelings for Jeremy begin to intensify, she recognizes all the ways she could benefit if he were to read his wife's words. After all, no matter how devoted Jeremy is to his injured wife, a truth this horrifying would make it impossible for him to continue to love her. A standalone romantic thriller. Icon legend, like, I'm sorry. I've never even heard of like romantic thrillers until this book. And now I'm like, I want more. I want so many more. I think it's perfect for Pisces because it's a whodunit, it's a mystery, it's a psychological thriller, and I think we underestimate how much Pisces are down for the ride of like decoding things and debunking things. I think this is perfect for you because there's spice. The husband ends up falling for Lowen, the girl who's staying to finish his wife's work, but Lowen finds out things about his wife that's like, this person's crazy. And then there's just a lot of stuff that I don't want to say without spoiling it, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Anyways, this completes this very long video. This is like a 30-40 minute video. I also just hope people just watch the whole video to get like great tips of all my favorite books this year. But if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.